chemistry. Today our experiment is to prepare a suspension of soil, chalk powder and fine sand in water. The theory behind this in suspension, the particle size is of the order of 10 power minus 5 centimeter or larger. The particles can be seen distinctly in the dispersion medium, that is solvent, by the naked eye. The suspension are not stable, that is particles may settle down after some time. So let's begin the experiment. The materials required for the experiment are sand, soil, chalk powder, glass rod, filter papers, test tubes, beakers, funnels, distilled water, test tube stand and funnel stand. Now let's do the experiment and see the properties of suspension. To begin with, let's begin children. We will take small amount of soil in a beaker and add distilled water in it and stir it. Three tests are there. First one is the transparency, the second one is stability and the third one is filtration. So this is the solution that is made by the soil. Now I am taking small amount of the solution in a test tube. I am putting small amount of this solution in a test tube and leaving it for 20 minutes and I am keeping it aside. So I am keeping it here and leaving undisturbed for 20 minutes to check the stability. And I am taking a funnel and then in this I am placing this is a filter paper. We are folding in this manner, first half and then half, taking three sides, one, putting in this funnel. I am placing it in the funnel stand and I am pouring this soil suspension in this filter paper and we will see what happens now. Yes children, meanwhile filtration is being done by the filter paper. We will do another test. You can see here this is a paper which is being stick to the test tube. From this side also it is visible to you. Now I am pouring the suspension of soil. Now is it visible to you from that side? Yes? Any answer? Yes, the answer is that it is invisible, means it is not transparent. So this is the characteristics of a suspension. Okay, now we will see what is left out in the filter paper. Yes, now we will see the soil, the filter paper of the soil suspension, what is left behind. Here we can see this. In the filter paper, particles of soil are left behind. Just have a look. And you can also check it out, the water. It is clear. When we compare the solution, here if you see, it is clear than this. So we can say that the soil forms a suspension in water. So here this is one. And next we will be doing, we will see the first experiment where we left the particles to settle down. Since only 10 minutes are over, you can see particles are being, here the particles are being settling down, which shows that this is suspension. So only 10 minutes are over. We will leave it 10 more minutes. Meanwhile, we will make the suspension of chalk powder. Now children will make suspension with the chalk powder. I have taken chalk powder, added in the beaker and little amount of distilled water in it and stir it. Now you can see we got a solution of chalk powder, and now is this a suspension or not? We will check it with the transparency, with the stability and with the filter paper test. So now again I am placing what you call small amount of this in the test tube and leaving it for 10 to 15 minutes, and then we will check it out the particles have settled down or not. Now I am taking a funnel, and then this funnel, another filter paper, folding in the same manner as we have done in the first case, and then placing it in the funnel. Please don't puncture it, and then here this is the funnel paper. Just we will put it in the funnel stand, and another test tube, and pouring the chalk powder in this and observing what is happening, waiting for the result. Meanwhile, it is getting filtered. Let's see another experiment of the chalk powder. Students, you can see here I have sticked a yellow paper on this side of the test tube. From this side it is visible. Now I am pouring the chalk powder solution or chalk powder in water, and you can observe from that side that the paper is not visible. This means that the suspension or chalk powder when dissolved in water is not transparent, it is opaque in nature. The liquid 10 minutes before what we have kept, you can see the chalk powder has got settled down here, and the upper clear still particles are there which are settling down. If we leave for 10 more minutes, we will get more clear picture. And now we will see the filter paper, what is the result on it. You can see here some residue is left out. We will open it and just see is it residue is there or not. The residue is nothing but the chalk powder that is left on the filter paper. So here you can see the clear solution that we get after the filtering the chalk powder suspension. Yes, now move it. Now we will do the third test, that is with the sand suspension. Come children, let's do. Yes, this is the sand children, and now we will pour this in the beaker and then add small amount of distilled water. Now this is and stir it, and we will leave the solution for 20 minutes in a test tube, leaving it for 10 to 15 minutes. I am keeping aside. Now I am placing a funnel in this, and then another filter paper, fresh filter paper, new filter paper I am taking, folding it as in the case of first one, and then placing it in the funnel. Now I am pouring this into this filter paper and leaving it for what I call filter it, and now we will do the next test. Now children, you can see here, this is a white paper is there on this side. From this side, is it visible to you? Hope this is, the answer might be that no, because the sand particles does not allow, or it is not a transparent, it is translucent or totally opaque solution or opaque, so it is suspension. Now we will see the filter paper, how what has been left out or what residue has been left out. Let's see. Here, this is the filter paper. You can see here, small amount of sand is left out as residue on the filter paper. So, you can see here the three filter papers. This is a suspension of soil, suspension of chalk and suspension of sand. Here, these three filter paper, some residue is left out of the soil particles, second case chalk powder, and in the third case the sand. And transparency, we have seen that it is what you call not clear, visible. Now here you can see here the three test tubes in which we left the material. Still it has not been clear. It is the mud, where you can see the soil particles have got settled down. Here you can see the chalk powder has got settled down, and here the sand is getting settled down. This is more clear. Now slowly these two solutions also will become like this only, still more clear if we leave for a longer period of time. So hope the concept is clear of the experiment. I will stop the experiment now and we will meet in the next experiment. Thank you. Now students, we will write the same experiment in our record. While moving the video, you can pause and write it in the or record it in the record. Now we will see a small animation on the same experiment prepared by Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham University in collaboration with the Government of India for better understanding.
Suspensions. For the preparation of a suspension of soil in water, add 10 grams of fine soil in a 250 ml beaker containing 95 ml distilled water. Then stir the solution using a glass rod. To check the transparency of soil solution, take some of the soil suspension in a test tube. Paste a small strip of cellophane paper on one side of the test tube and view it from the other side. The cellophane paper is not visible from the other side of the test tube. This indicates that a suspension is opaque. Filtration of soil solution. Place a funnel over a test tube using a clamp stand. Then place a filter paper in the funnel. Now, pour the soil suspension taken in another test tube through the funnel. A clear filtrate is obtained. Soil particles are seen on the filter paper. This indicates that suspended components of a suspension can be separated by filtration. To check the stability of soil solution, take some soil suspension in a test tube and leave it in the test tube rack for 20 minutes. You will note a gradual settlement of soil particles at the bottom of the test tube. This indicates that a suspension is unstable and shows settlement of heavier particles. For the preparation of a suspension of chalk in water, add 10 grams of fine chalk powder in a 250 ml beaker containing 95 ml distilled water. Then stir the solution using a glass rod. To check the transparency of chalk solution, take some of the chalk suspension in a test tube. Paste a small strip of cellophane paper on one side of the test tube and view it from the other side. The cellophane paper is not visible from the other side of the test tube. This indicates that the suspension is opaque. Filtration of chalk solution. Place a funnel over a test tube using a clamp stand. Then place a filter paper in the funnel. Now, pour the chalk suspension taken in another test tube through the funnel. A clear filtrate is obtained. Chalk particles are seen on the filter paper. This indicates that suspended components of a suspension can be separated by filtration. To check the stability of chalk solution, take some chalk suspension in a test tube and leave it in the test tube rack for 20 minutes. You will note a gradual settlement of soil particles at the bottom of the test tube. This indicates that a suspension is unstable and shows settlement of heavier particles. For the preparation of a suspension of fine sand in water, add 10 grams of fine sand in a 250 ml beaker containing 95 ml distilled water. Then stir the solution using a glass rod. To check the transparency of sand solution, take some of the sand suspension in a test tube. Paste a small strip of cellophane paper on one side of the test tube and view it from the other side. The cellophane paper is not visible from the other side of the test tube. This indicates that the suspension is opaque. Filtration of sand solution. Place a funnel over a test tube using a clamp stand. Then place a filter in the paper funnel. Now pour the sand suspension taken in another test tube through the funnel. A clear filtrate is obtained. Sand particles are seen on the filter paper. This indicates that suspended components of a suspension can be separated by filtration. To check the stability of sand solution, take some sand suspension in a test tube and leave it in the test tube rack for 20 minutes. You will note a gradual settlement of soil particles at the bottom of the test tube. This indicates that a suspension is unstable and shows settlement of heavier particles.